The moon hung low in the inky sky, casting a silvery glow on the dense forest that cradled the small clearing where Jake had set up his campsite. Nestled in the heart of the wilderness, he reveled in the symphony of nocturnal sounds, the rustling leaves, the distant hoots of an owl, and the gentle whisper of the wind weaving through the trees. Determined to embrace the serenity of the night, Jake had embarked on this solo camping trip, seeking solace beneath the celestial tapestry that stretched above. Little did he know that the tranquility would soon give way to a primal terror that lurked in the shadows. As the crackling flames of his campfire began to wane, Jake nestled into his sleeping bag, surrendering himself to the nocturnal embrace of the forest. However, the peaceful symphony began to distort. Unseen eyes seemed to pierce the veil of darkness, and a shiver crawled up Jake's spine. Part 1. The First Whisper. The forest held its breath as an ominous hush settled over the clearing. A snap of a twig echoed through the night, causing Jake to sit up, his senses on high alert. His rational mind dismissed it as a raccoon or a curious deer, but an inexplicable unease gripped him. A distant guttural growl reverberated through the trees, sending a chill through Jake's veins. It was a sound not easily dismissed as belonging to any ordinary forest inhabitant. His heart quickened, and he strained his ears to catch any clue that would unveil the origin of the unsettling growl. Part 2. The Disappearing Shadows. Fear flickered in the periphery of Jake's consciousness as he scanned the surrounding darkness. The once familiar shadows now seemed to shift and dance, with a sinister intent. An uncanny feeling of being watched tightened its grip on him. The campfire, now reduced to glowing embers, painted grotesque shapes on the trees, and Jake could swear he saw something moving at the edge of the forest. His breath caught as he strained to discern the nature of the elusive entity that lurked beyond the firelight. Part 3. The Unseen Pursuer. With trepidation, Jake reached for his flashlight, its beam slicing through the darkness. The forest responded with a chorus of hidden creatures, but the penetrating light revealed nothing out of the ordinary. It was when the beam caught a pair of glinting eyes that the true terror took hold. Two orbs, intense and feral, stared back at Jake from the shadows. His breath hitched, and he swallowed hard, convincing himself it was a nocturnal predator, perhaps a mountain lion or a stray wolf, but the unrelenting gaze persisted, unblinking and predatory. Part 4. The Footsteps of Fear. In a moment of dread, Jake felt the weight of something watching him, stalking him through the enveloping darkness. The subtle rustle of leaves beneath a heavy, unseen presence sent shivers down his spine. His mind raced through a catalog of forest-dwelling animals, each scenario more terrifying than the last. Suddenly, a low guttural growl resonated through the night, closer now, and a sinking realization gripped Jake. This was no ordinary creature of the woods. It was something far more primal, an apex predator that had decided he was no longer the spectator, but the prey. Part 5. The Desperate Flight. Panic surged through Jake's veins as he scrambled to his feet, his flashlight now a feeble beacon against the encroaching darkness. The growls grew more menacing, punctuated by the snapping of twigs and the soft padding of relentless pursuit. Through the labyrinth of trees, Jake stumbled, fueled by adrenaline and the primal instinct to survive. He dared not look back, for fear that the glinting eyes and gnashing teeth would be mere inches away. The once familiar terrain now seemed alien, the forest itself conspiring to entangle him in its shadowy grasp. Part 6. The Final Stand. As Jake ran, the oppressive silence was shattered by a guttural roar that reverberated through the woods. He knew he couldn't outrun the unseen predator indefinitely, and a cold sweat coated his trembling body. In a desperate bid for survival, Jake reached a small clearing bathed in moonlight. He turned to face his pursuer, the flashlight quivering in his grip. The forest held its breath as the creature stepped into the illumination, revealing itself as a massive black bear, its eyes reflecting both fear and ferocity. Time seemed to freeze as Jake and the bear locked eyes, each assessing the other's resolve. The growl softened, replaced by an uneasy tension. In that moment, A silent understanding passed between man and beast, a recognition of the primal dance of predator and prey. Epilogue. Night's untamed symphony. The bear, perhaps sensing no true threat, turned and retreated into the depths of the forest, disappearing as mysteriously as it had arrived. Jake, left standing in the clearing, felt the weight of the wild around him, an untamed symphony of the night that both enthralled and terrified. As the moon cast its silvery glow once more, Jake retraced his steps back to the campsite. The haunting growls had faded, but the echoes of that night would forever linger in the recesses of his mind. The forest, now silent and enigmatic, had claimed its nocturnal secret, leaving Jake to marvel at the thin veil that separates the civilized world from the primal wilderness that still prowls beyond the edge of the campfire's feeble light.